All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to start. I hope my levels are decent. My beautiful daughter came in and just hit every level, button, volume, fader possible. And I think I have it back set pretty decently. All right, we're going to rock and roll. Here we go.
Women.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct.
And here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
To reclaim the American dream,
To be given the right of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
You've certainly come to the right place.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. And if there is any doubt in your mind at this point that the Republican Party has become an entire freak show, a clown show, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what will convince you. Last night was the most I felt guilty watching it last night. I'm going to be honest with you, because me and my wife and I, we always debate about the type of programming that we allow in our house. And I'm always against reality TV. I am always fervently against stupidity. I just don't like stupid things coming in the house. The only thing I like to come in my house is The Walking Dead and Doctor Who. But you know, my wife likes to watch Real Housewives of this and Real Housewives of that. I felt the guilty pleasure as though I felt watching the debate last night. I felt as though I was watching the Real Housewives of conservatism. Honestly, I felt that last night was nothing more than a reality TV show where they threw everybody on in a ring. This was reality TV for politics, for political junkies. That's what this was. And if there's any question in your mind, just some key, I will help you. I'm going to help you to see a little more clearly, because not only the candidates. Well, let me start here. I think that the real candidates were at the 5 o'clock hour. I think that the people that were serious and had something notable to say, they were the ones who were at the so-called kiddie table. And the people who, the candidates, Donald Trump and Jeb Bush and Rand Paul and the rest of them, I think they allowed themselves, well, they were being themselves, but also they fed into the energy of the crowd, and they allowed the crowd to dictate. They wanted to perform for their audience, and it became an utter freak show. Don't take my word for it. I mean, I have plenty of clips here today, and I want you to join the conversation, 857-600-0518. But not only the candidates, but the questions. The questions were, to me, the questions were ridiculous. The premise, the premises behind the questions. I mean, I understand we're dealing with Fox News, so we can't expect a whole lot from them. But they were on prime time. They have that. This is going to be their highest rated event of the year, and they came with the most asinine. I think the last question before they closed with the closing statements was whether or not God told them something to do on their first day. You know, what kind of question? And then just the entire, I don't know. It's so much. It was 2 hours of incoherent dodging. I don't think there was a single question that was legitimately answered by a candidate. I'm trying to think. It was a long program, so I'm not sure, but it was a lesson. It was a case study in how do you dodge a valid question, and then how do you give a witty retort, which a lot of times their jokes fell flat. And when did we become a political society that looks for a comedian to be our leader? To be whoever can say the wittiest pun, whoever can give the strongest and it's like it was reality TV. That's all I can say, because they were saying, they were trying to prime it up for a fight. They were like, Jeb Bush, will you look over at Donald Trump and say it to him, Donald Trump? This reminds me of I don't know what are some of the networks that deal with reality TV shows? I don't know, but this is what American politics has devolved to, especially on the Republican side. Now, when the Democratic debate comes around, I guarantee you two things. Two things will happen. One, they will ask serious questions. They will get serious answers. They will, it would be an all-around serious event. Two, the ratings will be much lower. That's what I'm going to guarantee will happen, because America craves. Fox News knows one thing. They know what America craves. They crave entertainment, and last night was nothing but entertainment. But I'm going to play a couple of clips from last night, and I want your feedback. If you want to tweet me at the BPD show, you want to leave a comment on the video, or go to facebook.com/the Benjamin Dixon Show and leave a comment on the link there, so I can just answer your question, or you can call in 857-600-0518. This is Donald Trump. He stole the show last night in a lot of regards. Let's listen in.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time. What I say is what I say. And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what? We need strength. We need energy. We need quickness. And
all right, that's enough, Donald Trump. That's enough. Man, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, one thing that man understands, let me give him an applause, because he deserves one, because he's an entertainer. That segment, that's pretty much how that was the pace of the entire evening. They asked Donald Trump, they did their best to get at Donald Trump. I mean, they asked Donald Trump some very difficult questions about his personal life, not about policy. I don't think there was many difficult questions about policies. All the questions were nicely loaded questions to make anybody look good with regard to policy if you're a conservative. Everything was Obama, bad. What are you going to do different? Nobody answered what they would do different. Everyone answered, yeah, Obama, bad. Obama's weak. But nobody. I did not hear one coherent piece of policy, not one coherent piece of a plan or any type of agenda, any type of strategy that they would do differently with regard to the economy, except the standard talking points. We're going to cut taxes and get the economy going again. Get the economy going again is a catchphrase. What are you going to do to get the economy going again? Jeb Bush is promising 4% growth that we haven't seen in probably 30 plus years. We haven't seen 4% growth, I think the commentator said last night, since Lyndon B. Johnson. So bump that up to 50 years. What are you actually going to do? Good question. I'm going to get growth up to 4%. I believe we can do it. That was the depth of answers that we got last night. And so where they were asking Donald Trump difficult questions about his personal finances, his personal disposition, his demeanor, and they really hit home at trying to whether or not he was going to stand with the Republican Party, if he's going to pledge to be on the side of the Republican Party, win or lose. They asked him questions that were difficult in that regard, but not a single relevant, substantive question or answer on economic, social, and foreign relation policy. None whatsoever. And this is your modern Republican Party. This is what it's devolved into. That's the thing. This is the other side of the equation. Now, I promise you, the best people were at the 5 o'clock hour. Let me play a little
January
snippet of that.
22nd, 2009, President Obama signed one of his first executive orders. That was close Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, still open today. What would be your first executive order? Governor Gilmore, start.
Well, it's not a matter of what the first executive order would be, Bill. The matter is what orders exist now that shouldn't exist. The president has done an executive order with respect to illegal immigration that is illegal, and it creates a contempt for the law, for the rule of law. If I were the president of the United States, I'd go and look at every executive order that exists right now and determine which ones want to be voided, because the president shouldn't be legislating, not through that vehicle or any other. We should be relying upon the leadership of the Congress to pass the laws.
Now, let me stop him there. Now, I don't agree with anything he just said. I don't agree with the premise of what he said, but at least he said something that is substantive from the conservative diluted ideology. What we got at this was at the 5 o'clock hour. What they call the kids show, the kids table, was actually the more substantive event. That should tell you something about the psyche, the attitude, and the current state of the Republican Party. It is a freak show. It is a clown show. And this is what 50% of our electorate, give or take a margin of error, this is what 50% of our electorate consider to be a viable option. You have people who genuinely believe that the people you saw on that reality TV show last night have something of substance to contribute to the American dialogue. And the few things that they said, there are some key things. There are some key things that they didn't ask that I think are important, just as important with regard to what they did ask. And I think I'll probably deal with some of those in the second segment. But I want you to look at some of the positioning that they're taking now. The Republican Party, based on those questions that I heard last night, they're trying to take the position of the populist. They're trying to take the position of one of the key questions that they kept hammering home is, how are you going to handle Hillary Clinton when the question comes up for middle class economics and living paycheck to paycheck? And so all of the politicians on that stage, Marco Rubio is the one that stood out the most, basically begin to position their rhetoric to make them sound as though they were the candidate for the middle class, and that they were the candidate for equity and pay, and they were the candidate for equal opportunities. In reality, we know that that is the furthest thing from the truth. But we live in an age, we live in a society that they don't have to say anything truthful. All they have to do is give platitudes and generalities, and no one is going to question. No one is going to go any further, ask for any more substance. They're going to just let you say whatever you want to say, and no one is going to drill down. Marco Rubio began to talk about, and I think I wrote his comment down, that basically he was saying that he's going to do things for the middle class, that he's going to do things for people living paycheck to paycheck, and Hillary Clinton can't lecture him on living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, this guy is sounding like a populist, but if you look at how his voting record, not only in the Senate, but back in Florida, you would realize that he's a corporatist. And so they are going to, this is the season where the Republican Party is going to run as populist, run as if they're in favor of middle class, pro-middle class economics. But if they get into office, they are absolutely going to continue with the same exact paradigm that we've been living under for the last 30 years, 35 years. Trickle down economics that benefits the top 1% in corporations. So it's worse than bait and switch. It's just flat out lies. There's not one Republican policy that has been offered of any significance that is beneficial to the middle class, yet now they're running on middle class economics with that kind of jargon. That's one of the things that stood out the most to me last night, was that they're really trying their best to be able to incorporate the rhetoric of the middle class populism but we all know full well that they are the party of corporations. That's something I think that is that we can't look at what they said last night, because what they said was a clown show. You have to look at the questions that weren't asked, and you have to look at the questions. You have to look at the rhetoric that they're trying to wrap it in. That's what we have to look at this debate about, because if we just look at what they actually said, we could just be here laughing all Friday. And well, it is Friday, so maybe we should just forget about the serious things, because they're not serious, man. They can't be serious. If this is the best that the Republican Party and conservatism has to offer, then I would like to say that conservatism is dead and dying, but they have a really large base of equally as ignorant people who believe this bull. All right, folks, we're just warming up. We haven't even gotten started good. I have a lot more, a couple of more clips that we're going to play, and we're going to dissect the attack on women's rights. I mean, it was who can restrict women's rights the most kind of night. 857-600-0518. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show. We'll be back right after this.
When you're ready to lose weight, why count, track, and worry over every meal? Jenny Craig makes it simple. Just walk into a neighborhood Jenny Craig center or give us a call. You'll meet your dedicated personal consultant who helps you reach your goals. Together, you'll pick out delicious Jenny Craig foods that you'll love and design a menu that fits your life. And the best part is that you can get started losing weight right away. Don't wait any longer to take advantage of our best offer ever. Call 1-800-JENNY20 or visit jennycraig.com.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
I'm making beef sliders for my friend Sandy. Nana taught me to always pull meat off the grill early so it's extra juicy.
Use a food thermometer to ensure ground beef is 160 degrees, or you could make people really sick. Sandy didn't think twice about the slider she ate until yoga class, when a nasty case of food poisoning turned her downward-facing dog into upward-moving lunch. Watch Recipes for Disaster at foodsafety.gov and learn the steps Maria unwittingly leaves out. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
Warm fleece on a cold day.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. All right. A couple of key things that I noticed last night. They avoided the question of gay marriage like the plague. I think, and don't worry, I was working at the same time, so I didn't catch 100%, but I know I caught at least 90% of it. And it seemed to me that they really only asked one substantive question with regard to gay marriage. And they asked that of John Kasich. And I'm going to play that clip because I think that says a lot about the fact that they're losing the culture war. And they know that the Supreme Court decision that this should be pretty much a settled case. A caller on Wednesday pointed that out. The only thing they have left is the pro-choice movement. I'm sorry, the attack on the pro-choice, the anti-choice movement. That's the only thing that they have left. And that is what they hunkered down on last night. Last night was all about, for the most part, it was about who can be the craziest and make the most ridiculous pun and try to get the most attention and applause. But then on the flip side, it was like, who's going to be the most restrictive on women's rights? All right, so let me play this clip of Marco Rubio on his conversation.
And I have never
about
advocated
abortion.
that. What I have advocated is that we pass law in this country that says all human life at every stage of its development is worthy of protection. In fact, I think that law already exists. It's called the Constitution of the United States. And let me go further. I believe that every single human being is entitled to the protection of our laws, whether they can vote or not, whether they can speak or not, whether they can hire a lawyer or not, whether they have a birth certificate or not. And I think future generations will look back at this history of our country and call us barbarians for murdering millions of babies who we never gave them a chance to live.
So essentially, Marco Rubio is saying that, and this is with the question was about whether or not he believed there should be exceptions for the life of the mother. If the life of the mother is in jeopardy, should there be any exception on abortion, or should all abortion be illegal? And he went one step further. He said, not only that, but I think that they should be protected from the moment of conception, essentially is what he was saying. This is one of the most extreme positions that you could possibly have on abortion. And this is now the standard for the Republican Party. This is, I want you to understand, even in the case of the threat to the life of the mother, they are now saying that's irrelevant. We don't care. Look at this. They're not even good at their rhetorical jujitsu, right? They don't address the fact that the life of the mother is in danger. They only address the life of the child, as if we don't notice that you're saying it doesn't matter what happens to the mother. We don't care what happens to the mother. We only care what happens to the baby in her womb. That's it. As if we don't see that glaring contradiction. But this is what's scary. What's scary about this is now they have lost the battle on gay marriage. And I'll play the clip for it, and you can hear they threw it to John Kasich. And I know a lot of these were prepped, right? A lot of these questions were prepped, and they knew who was going to get what. They were not going to ask Mike Huckabee about gay marriage. They did not give Mike Huckabee the chance to even speak out on. If they had given Mike Huckabee the chance to speak out on gay marriage, then they would have destroyed themselves with regard to that. Just like race issues, they only asked Ben Carson about it. But they avoided certain questions like the plague, and they doubled down. They have doubled down on women's rights issues. And if it's not clear to women, it should have been clear from the Megyn Kelly exchange. The Megyn Kelly exchange with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was being the jackass that Donald Trump is, right? No big surprise there. Donald Trump is a misogynist. He has no respect or very little respect for women. Just into the language that he uses, the way that he insulted Rosie O'Donnell just for laughs and giggles. And then he went one step further and went after Megyn Kelly. And what did the audience do? The audience didn't repudiate him. The audience didn't say, they didn't boo him. They didn't sit quietly in silent protest. They applauded him. They cheered for him. So in terms of what they actually said, what the candidates actually said about women's rights and the disposition of the crowd with regard to Donald Trump's insults on Rosie O'Donnell and insults on Megyn Kelly, that should let you know exactly where women stand in that party. And I know there's a lot of women conservatives who probably didn't even care that happened last night. But for people who are actually interested in voting in their best interest, they took notice. So if nothing else, I think they lost they went down a few points with women voters. They could not have come out of that debate last night unscathed with regard to women voters, because they doubled down on their constitutional protection of the fetus, with no regard to the life of the mother, even in the exception of, not even in the case of rape and the threat to life for the mother. They don't even care, and they've doubled down. And even somebody who is really moderate, because Marco Rubio is a soulless shell in a suit. I know Marco Rubio from Florida. I saw how he ran against Charlie Crist and I can't remember the other guy's name who ran with the Democratic Party, Kendrick Meek. I saw how he ran his campaign against them. He is a soulless shield. He would take advantage. He took advantage of the Tea Party and has no real allegiance to anyone. He is an opportunist. And so he is going to say whatever he wants to say. In reality, he's going to govern from the middle. He's just a plain, bland Republican who's going to, he'll throw some bones out to his extremists. Yeah, he'll throw some bones out to the Tea Party. He'll throw some bones out to some of his base, but that's more rhetorical than anything else. And so here, Marco Rubio, who's ostensibly the moderate on stage next to Jeb Bush, the moderate position in the Republican Party now is all abortions are illegal, even in the case of rape, incest, and the threat to the life of the mother. That is the moderate position. And of course, Planned Parenthood was just a convenient, this Center for Medical Progress, which is really, a misnomer. That organization put out the videos just in time for this debate so that they could rev up all of the emotions of the pro-life movement, all of the emotions of the evangelical voters, all of the emotions so that they can get on stage and hit some home runs because they have an easy target, which is Planned Parenthood right now, with no regard to the actual truth that those videos were highly edited and distorted the real message of what was happening in those meetings. That portion of it is irrelevant to them. The truth is irrelevant to the Republican Party right now. Conservatism does not care about the truth. If they ever did, they absolutely do not care now. No regard to the actual facts. All they want are punchlines. All they want are applause lines. All they want is power by any means. That should tell you the condition and of what we're fighting against. What we're fighting against is not just Rush Limbaugh. We're fighting against 30 years of propaganda that has made their voters so numb, N-U-M-B, as well as dumb. I mean, for you to sit there and believe, first of all, to accept that these are the best and brightest of your party, to accept that entire premise itself should be insulting. Every conservative with any modicum of sense should have walked away last night frustrated with the clown show that was on that stage. That's number one. But then two, the premises of the questions, the underlying premises, that they were completely wrong based on lies. The responses were based on things that they knew were not truthful. Every response with regard to Planned Parenthood and those videos, they know those videos are not truthful. They know those videos are misleading and distorting the truth, but they don't care. And that, my friends, is the condition of the Republican Party. And one of two things is going to happen. I can't predict the future, so I don't know which one. They are either going to die out quickly, or we're going to find out that really 50% of America might not be as bright as we think, and they are as ignorant as Republicans really need them to be. I want you to watch this softball they gave John Kasich on same-sex marriage. Listen closely.
Subject of gay marriage and religious liberty. Governor Kasich, if you had a son or daughter who was gay or lesbian, how would you explain to them your opposition to same-sex marriage?
Well, look, I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage. But I've also said the court has ruled.
But how would you explain to your child?
Megan, the court has ruled, and I said we'll accept it. And guess what? I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do, doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So
okay, I have to stop it there. One, that is. I'm going to applaud. I'm going to applaud, and I'll tell you why. And then I'm going to be divisive, intentionally divisive, because I'm going to drive this point home for evangelicals. But first, I want to applaud John Kasich, even though he did go with basically, I have gay friends too, which is just as bad as saying, oh, I have black friends. He went there, right? He didn't even realize what he was saying. But the fact that the audience did not boo him when he said that he would love them and that he went to a gay wedding and we don't have to agree, but I'm going to support the Supreme Court decision. Now, that is, believe it or not, that is progress, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have gone one step beyond the culture wars. It's not over. right? Because if they had asked, I want to say Mitch McConnell, Mike Huckabee, if they had asked Mike Huckabee that question, he would have talked about Sodom and Gomorrah and God raining down fire and brimstone. So we're not so far removed that there's an actual total victory on it. But it is very strategic that Fox News asked John Kasich this question with that audience, because they knew that they would get the soft and welcoming and inclusive answer and applause from the audience, because politics, not because they actually believe it, not because they actually support it, because they know that they are on the wrong side of history, and they have been on the wrong side of history with regard to gay marriage, same-sex marriage, and that the court has decided. So that is one battle that I believe is we might be in the closing stages of that battle. But evangelicals, Mike Huckabee was on that stage. Evangelicals were listening closely, and evangelicals are going to have to decide whether or not they are going to get in line with the rest of America, with the rest of American history. That doesn't mean they have to get gay married. Doesn't mean that they have to perform gay marriages at their church. It just simply means you have to get out of the way of everyone else who wants to get their American secular rights, right? Either they're going to get in line with that, or you're going to see a mass exodus of evangelical voters. And quite frankly, if I can be divisive, you should leave. You should leave that party, because they've been promising you for the last 30 years that they're going to protect traditional marriage, right? And they've done nothing, and now they've thrown in the white flag. So why would evangelicals vote? If you're voting for them for the sake of stopping gay marriage and traditional marriage, evangelicals, why are you voting for them still? Last night, they showed you that they have no regard for your traditional marriage beliefs. So every evangelical across the United States needs to just sit down and not vote for the Republican Party, if I could just be so divisive. But I'm intentionally being, you get the picture. But I think it's progress. I think it's progress. And I think they realize that's one culture war that they can no longer win on. What are we looking like on time? All right, 8:30. I have time for one more clip before we go to break. I want to do Ben Carson on race. I want to do Ben Carson on race. Well, actually, let me just play it, and then I'll talk about it.
Response, and you say, you see, when I take someone to the operating room, I'm actually operating on the thing that makes them who they are. The skin doesn't make them who they are. The hair doesn't make them who they are. And it's time for us to move beyond that, because, our strength as a nation comes in our unity. We are the United States of America, not the divided states. And those who want to destroy us are trying to divide us, and we shouldn't let them do it.
Okay, so Ben Carson, let me start with Ben Carson in general. Ben Carson just looked uncomfortable the entire night. It looked like his necktie was too tight or something, and he looked like he was really stretching for answers. Maybe he should have wore his glasses. I don't know what it was, but Ben Carson just looked completely out of his element and out of place last night. And I think he should stick with neuroscience. I think just because you're brilliant in one area does not transcend to every area. I may have a modicum of brilliance with regard to political analysis, but do not ask me anything about basketball beyond the Miami Heat. Right? Know your place, know your role. And I think Ben Carson, one, has gotten out of his role, but then two, I think it's very telling of the Republican Party, of Fox News, that they would throw the only substantive race question to the black guy. Because, of course, he's the only one who has something to say about race that people want to hear. Or, is that, it's like when I hang out with white friends, which I don't really have friends in general right now. I'm just, my family's my friends, right? But, it's like when you hang out with white people and they turn around and say, Ben, what do you think about what's going on in Ferguson? Hell, what do you think about it? I want to know your opinion. Don't look at me just because I'm black. So that's telling with regard to Fox News. But then two, he is the only one that could have given those empty platitudes and a bunch of nothingness. Nobody else on that stage could have even given that nothingness without a serious critique from everyone. They knew if anything was going to be said crazy or anything that was going to be said divisive, or in this case, anything that was going to be said that was pretty much plutonic, that was just a bunch of mush of nothing that spoke to nothing other than we're the United States of America. Well, yeah, we are the United States of America, but some of us are still being attacked as if it was 1965, the United States of America. They knew if they were going to get anything crazy, it had to come from Ben Carson. Just like they knew if they were going to ask anything about gay marriage, they had to stay away from Mike Huckabee. They knew it. And so I think Fox News, well, not even think, I know Fox News is brilliant. They are brilliant with regards to positioning, propaganda to ensure the maximum results. And so they can say that they asked about race relations, and they can say that they asked it of the black candidate. And his recommendation is that we don't look at the skin, that we look at the brain, because, you know, that's what I operate on. It's the brain. And that's what makes you really who you are. I think that's a great recommendation that we should start telling some of our police officers. I think if we started instilling that value in, you know, the vestiges of the Klan that is left in America that are still protesting on a regular basis, I think you would be right, Ben Carson. Folks, I'm going to take another quick break. When I come back, I'm going to deal with the rest of this clown show, and I want to get your phone calls, 857-600-0518. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show.
You're tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product, the right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com. or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online, specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing. Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners. With nationwide service, you can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust. You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I really hate my commercial breaks. I hate going away. I just sit back and I'm like itching. Hurry up and end, damn it, so I can get back and talk to the people. But there are a couple ways that you can support the show and help me cut commercials eventually. One, you could just go read my stuff, man. I do a lot of writing. I write for Pathos.com. I have my own blog over there. I write for If You Only News, and I do some writing for Your Black World. So any of those places, you just Google Benjamin Dixon and go read my stuff. I think I'm a better writer than I am a speaker, but I do speak well. If I can be so arrogant and pat myself on the back. Sorry, guys. But I wrote this book called God Is Not a Republican, and you can enter for a chance to win your own free copy. Go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show. Click on the Contact Us page. Each week I'm giving out a free copy just because I have copies and I want to give them away. And, you know, why not? This week's winner, I wish I had a drum roll in my queue. I don't have my drum roll, but this week's winner, randomly selected, was Pedro Brito. Pedro Brito. You want a free copy, so I will contact you through the email address you submitted, and I will send you your free copy of my book, God Is Not a Republican. Follow us. You can support us just by watching the videos. If you're watching now via YouTube, click that subscribe button. That really helps us out a lot, and watch all the videos. I think I have something decent to say, and more than something decent to say, man, it's time to take this to conservatism. It's time to take it to conservatism, because they have lost their minds. That's one of the most, you have to sit through this entire debate where the premise of every question is wrong. And you just have to sit and watch them knock down straw men all night long. And the number one thing that's wrong is their position on foreign affairs with regard to ISIS, with regard to the Iraq war. Jeb Bush had the nerve to say that the reason ISIS was created and grew was because Obama pulled out. When in fact, the reason ISIS was created in the first place was because we destabilized a region that was problematic, that George H.W. Bush knew full well that when he went in the first Gulf War, you don't tear down the leadership and the structure of a nation because you make it a failed state. And in a failed state, you get grabs for power, and the most violent and the most well-funded person becomes the leader, the de facto leader. And that is exactly what happened when George W. went into Iraq and took out Saddam Hussein. We destabilized the region. So with no regard to the actual causes, with no regard to the actual reasons we are in the quagmire we are in, everyone wants to pontificate and grandstand about how President Obama is doing such a bad job fixing the problems that their party, their leadership, their ideology created. And so we're just supposed to sit back and say, well, okay, you know, you're talking like a war hawk, and you're talking really strong, and you don't think we should have the deal with Iran. You're talking with all this boldness, and so we like you, and we're going to put you back in power, even though you're the exact reason we're in the crap we're in the Middle East right now. What sense does that make? Same exact thing on economic policy. The reason job growth is as slow as it is because we have recovered, and we did actually recover, from the worst recession since the Great Depression, brought on by deregulation, brought on by economic policies, failed economic policies of the Bush administration. But we're supposed to just sit back and say, well, you're talking so hard against Obama, and you're saying with so much, you're lying so good, and you're convincing yourself that, yeah, okay, we're going to put you back in office. That's essentially what they're saying. Pay no attention to the fact that the reason we're in the crap we're in the Middle East is because of Republican, conservative, neocon foreign policies. Pay no attention to that. And then pay no attention to the fact that the reason we're in the economic quagmire that we're in, and we're recovering from slowly but surely, pay no attention to the fact that that's as a result of George W. Bush and his administration. And even deeper than that, they want to talk about middle-class economics. They want to talk about the fact that middle-class wages has not grown, but they have no regard to the fact that the reason over the last 35 years it hasn't grown is because the fundamental structure of the United States was changed by their beloved Ronald Reagan in 1981. And so we stripped away all of the programs that would help create and sustain a middle class. because that is the Republican economic ideology. That is what they believe in. That is what they swear by. They swear if all we do is give tax breaks and we engage in redistribution of wealth going up, we engage in socialism going up, that everything else will trickle down to the rest of us. They firmly believe that. But that is the exact reason that job growth, not job growth, but wage growth over the last 35 years for the middle class worker has been stagnant, and it has exploded for the top 1%. So they want you to listen to their populist rhetoric. They want you to listen to all of their beliefs with regard to, I work, my parents live paycheck to paycheck, and Hillary Clinton can't tell me anything about living paycheck to paycheck. Bullshit. Bull. That's a load of bull, because your ideology, we see right through your rhetoric and know your ideology. You will do more to hurt the middle class. But we know this. What's amazing to me is that their voters still to this day haven't gotten the picture that they have been voting against their best economic interests for at a minimum all of my life, at a very minimum since 1981. I wasn't born in 81, but still that's close enough. And so we know this, but we can't convince them. And then we can't even convince their voters that what their party has become is a stage show, a reality TV show, where they figure if George W. can get in office, well, hell, anybody can get in office. If they can nominate Sarah Palin, then shit, and then they might as well nominate Donald Trump. I mean, if she could be the heartbeat away from the presidency, then why can't I? And so everyone, every clown in the crayon box of the Republican Party is now put on stage, because if George W. and Sarah Palin can be the president and be considered to be the president, then why can't I? But people cannot see this fundamental fact. And I don't want to just say because they're ignorant, because I don't think people are. I have a little more hope. I'm naive. Okay. I just don't think that people can be that dumb. But I think that they can be successfully propagandized over a long period of time. And that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen Fox News and we've seen Rush Limbaugh for the entirety of it. What, he's been on TV, for radio for 30 years, for the entirety of this Reagan regime that we're still living under. That I'm not sure that Hillary Clinton would do any more than Barack Obama did to take us out of it. That if we really want to see a fundamental shift away from the Reagan paradigm, that we're going to have to go to the actual left and not to the right of center. We're going to actually have to go get somebody like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders to actually undo the very things that they were trying to guise themselves in last night. They were trying to wrap themselves. Marco Rubio was doing his damnedest to wrap himself in the cloak of populism, knowing full well that when he gets in, he's just going to cut taxes and cut programs and do everything he can to help out the political and economic elite, while the rest of us are out here dying, trying to make our $70,000 a year income, which is actually not bad. We're trying to make it stretch because it costs $80,000 to live in some of the cities that we live in. That's what we're dealing with. So I don't think that they're all ignorant on the Republican side. I think a good bit of them are. I just think that they have been successfully propagandized, and that's the world that we live in. Let me play this clip of Jeb Bush. I don't even know what this clip is about. Let's see what he's talking about, and we'll respond to it.
Fine. I've got a record in Florida. I'm proud of my dad, and I'm certainly proud of my brother. In Florida, they call me Jeb because I earned it. I cut taxes every year, totaling $19 billion. We balanced every budget. We went from $1 billion of reserves to $9 billion of reserves. We were one of two states that went to AAA bond rating. They call me Vito Corleone because I vetoed 2,500 separate line items in the budget. I'm my own man. I govern as a conservative, and I govern effectively. And the net effect was, during my 8 years, 1.3 million jobs were created. We left the state better off because I applied conservative principles in a purple state the right way, and people rose up.
No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Florida. I grew up in Florida. I was in Florida at the time that he was governor. And I could tell you that this job growth was not a consequence of his conservative policies. That job growth was at the same exact time that we saw job growth across the United States in general. Right? It's easy to take credit for economic booms when it's coming from and stemming from policies, macroeconomic policies being fostered at the top. And you have the benefit of the digital revolution. You have the benefit of Silicon Valley just burgeoning and creating jobs all over the world. You know, it's easy to talk about that job growth and then try to credit it to something that it had absolutely nothing to do with. But we saw what Jeb Bush did, and it's going to be interesting to see the fact checking of some of his comments, especially with regard to his time on the Bloomberg board of chairmen, because there's no way. He said that he did not know what the budget was, and that a portion of the budget went to supporting Planned Parenthood. There's no way that you are a member of a board. You vote on the budget. How do you not know what's in it, Jeb Bush? It's going to be interesting to see the fact checking on that. Caller, what's your name, comment, and question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Oh, hey, this is Pedro Brito.
Pedro, congratulations, man. You won a copy of God is Not a Republican. And go ahead. What's your comment or question? And then offline, I'll contact you and we'll get this book to you.
I guess what I'm curious about is your take on if we somehow get a Republican candidate for president, whoever it might be. What do you think is their end game on a general basis? Do you think it'll be more like cutting back and reversing what Obama did? Do you think it'll be more warmongering, more social issues? What do you think is the worst to expect? I'll stay online and listen.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a good question. If we actually get a Republican president, what can we expect from them? In reality, I think depending on whether you get a hardliner, which we have, or a moderate like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, that they're going to have a bunch of empty promises to their conservative base. One, because when you get in office, you realize that there are certain things in motion that you just cannot stop. For instance, most progressives, we are upset with President Obama right now over Gitmo, and we're upset with President Obama over the usage of drones. He made all these promises to get in office and stop those things. But there's a difference between the promises that you can make before you get in and what actually happens when you get in. And when he got in, I believe he realized that, I made more promises than I can keep. I can't close Guantanamo Bay as quickly as I want, and I can't stop the drone usage as quickly as I want because it's intricate to whatever. I'm not saying I agree with him on it, but I think that's his reasoning and thinking. And that's what you get when you get a moderate. They're not going to change the boat as much as possible. But if you get a crazy person like Mike Huckabee, which he'll never get in office, but you will see them, they will go through without any regard to the health of the economy, without any regard to our national security, without any regard to things that are crucial to the American system. They will go through and do what they said. They will go through and prosecute Planned Parenthood. They will go through and do everything they can to make abortions illegal on all counts, pass a offer up, they're not going to pass a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, all those things. So it really depends on whether or not we get a moderate or whether or not we get a hardliner. Here's the thing about it. It's up in the air. We really don't know what we're going to get with this party. We have no idea. For all we know, I mean, somebody just tweeted me, Donald Trump is up to 48%. If I saw that tweet right, I saw it during the break, so I don't want to quote it as if it's fact, but I believe, and someone could check me, that Donald Trump surged overnight. I knew he would surge, but I had no idea that he would surge up to actually not, his polls are not 48%. 48% of the people believe that Donald Trump won the debate last night. So that should let you know we really have no idea what the Republican Party is going to offer, and that should be scary for everyone else. You there, Pedro?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just listening to the comment. Yeah, I hear you. That it sounds like a bit of a crapshoot overall, and I think that should be enough reason, because it doesn't sound like there's really any substantial thing to go on. It's coming from my uneducated viewpoint, it just looks like most of the Republican Party is just fighting Obama or fighting the Democratic Party or fighting political correctness. It's more like opposition rather than having their own substance,
Right, exactly. And here's the thing about it is they want to repeal Obamacare, but they have nothing to replace it with. They want to stop the Iran deal, but they have nothing to replace it with. Now, you could get a hardliner in office who would really do everything he can to repeal Obamacare. And if they keep the House and the Senate, they could actually repeal Obamacare with no regard to the ramifications, right? And you could get someone who would go in and just, we don't even know if the Iran deal is going to go through. Last night, Chuck Schumer came out, a prominent Democrat came out against it. So it may not go through. But if it goes through, you could get a hardliner in who would do exactly what they said. So in that regard, I think it's just a crapshoot, like you said, if I could use your words, and it's risky business. Listen, Pedro, thanks so much for the call, man. I will send you an email as soon as the show is over, and we're going to get this book out to you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I love the show, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, so that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's like whether or not we're going to get an actual candidate. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said at the top of the show, I think the better choices, I think you could dump that entire 8 o'clock show, 9 o'clock show, and go with the people from the 5 o'clock, the kiddie table. They were much more serious. They were still foolish. They were still Republicans and conservatives, and ideologies are just wrong. But at least they weren't childlike. At least they weren't children. I want to play this exchange between Chris Christie. Actually, no, I don't want to play that. That was Chris Christie got into it with Rand Paul, and it was like, whatever, big deal. Let's see, Ben Carson on race, Marco Rubio. Let's listen to a couple of the closing statements, and I'm not going to play them all. I'm just going to play a few, and then we'll get out of here.
People want to do, I want to tell you what I've done. I was a member of the Armed Services Committee for 18 years. I spent a big chunk of my life studying national security issues and our role in the world. Number two, I was the chairman of the House Budget Committee and one of the chief architects the last time we balanced the budget. And it was the first time we'd done it since man walked on the moon. We had a $5 trillion surplus and we cut taxes. I spent 10 years in the private sector actually learning how business works. And now I'm the governor of Ohio, and I inherited a state that was on the brink of dying. And we've turned it all around with jobs and balanced budgets and rising credit and tax cuts. And the state is unified and people have hope again in Ohio.
Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with what he believes. I don't agree with his ideology. But John Kasich might have been the most coherent person on stage last night. He might have been the only person on stage that was that's worthwhile. Jeb Bush, I think Jeb Bush hurt himself more than he helped himself. And Marco Rubio was just an empty suit, just a complete empty suit. And I think that showed. But John Kasich, I don't agree with his politics, but at least he's not a complete buffoon. Let's play a little bit of Chris Christie and some of his lies.
I was appointed United States Attorney on September 10th, 2001, and spent the next 7 years of my career fighting terrorism and putting terrorists in jail. I'm a conservative, pro-life governor in a state where it's really tough to be both. In a state like New Jersey with lots of Democrats, but still we cut taxes, we balanced budgets, we fought the teachers union. This president has had weak leadership, which has led to bad choices. We got to stop worrying about being loved and start worrying about being respected, and that's exactly how I'll lead our country.
And see, that was the quintessential example of what last night was about. Last night was about who has the biggest set. That's what last night was about. Who can make the most insulting statement towards President Obama and Hillary Clinton, and who has the most gravitas on stage, but no substance. Chris Christie, his resume is, he fought terrorism, right? And it is time for us not to worry about being loved, but to be respected, right? He's taking the line from the movie. That's what last night was completely about. With no regard to the fact of the matter that we are in the crap that we are in the situation that we're in right now because of their policies. And Chris Christie is now not only saying that, but he's saying that, and not only Chris Christie, Scott Walker, how many people talked about fighting against unions and fighting against teachers and fighting against firefighters, the unions. They really believe that the best thing that's in American interest is to fight against our unions, to fight against our teachers, to fight against the people, the middle class workers. I don't even make, you know what? I almost want to throw my hands up because not because of what they believe, but because of the number of people that believe it. I get so tired, not literally, but it's just a mental drain trying to show people on the conservative end of the spectrum that you are voting against yourself. And if you listen to these people and you listen to what they didn't say, and you listen to some of the things that they allowed to slip out, you see their focus is solely on doing anything and everything they can to get power back, to take us right back to what got us into the mess that we're in, that's got us in this place, this economic mess, that got us into the Middle Eastern quagmire, that they want to take us right back to that. You know how I know this? Because not a single one of them offered a substantive policy position that we can analyze and say this is uniquely different than what every other Republican Party leader did over the last 60 years. None of them. And if you believe that they're going to do something differently, even though they haven't offered anything different, then you might just deserve that Republican Party that you saw on stage last night. You deserve that reality show. You deserve Donald Trump. You deserve exactly what you're going to get. But for the rest of us who know better, we can't celebrate. We can't celebrate because of how ignorant it was, because there's a lot of people who buy into that ignorance. We have to get active. We have to get mobilized, and we have to make sure that we get the type of nominee that we need on our side of the equation to finally change this paradigm that we've been living under for the last 35 plus years. You know who that is, and you know who that's not. I'm going to leave it there, folks. I will see you next time. Go to the BenjaminDixonShow.com, read some of my articles. Go to pathos.com/God is not a Republican. Read my articles there. Just follow me on Twitter. If you're watching, subscribe right now. Subscribe. If you're listening, follow us on Spreaker. If you're on Spreaker, come to YouTube and subscribe. YouTube, go over there and subscribe on Spreaker. All of you, go to Facebook and like the page. Help us get the word out. You don't have to pay actual money to me to actually support the show. Just go and watch our stuff, watch our content, consume it, read our articles. And if you just feel so inclined, go to, what is it called, producer? There it is, patreon.com/the BPD show, and you can support the show. I'm out of here because I got to work the overnight shift. Later.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
And we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?